I was 7 when the Thorntons adopted me. Old enough to remember my biological parents dying in the car accident. Old enough to understand that these strangers offering me a home were my only option. Young enough to hope they might actually love me. That hope died slowly over the next 21 years. It wasn't dramatic abuse. Nothing I could point to and say, this is wrong. It was subtler. The way Mom introduced me, this is our daughter Sarah, and these are our real children Michael and Jennifer. The way Dad's eyes would glaze over when I talked about my achievements but light up for my siblings' mediocre accomplishments. The way family photos were arranged in the hallway. Michael's graduation front and center, Jennifer's wedding massive and gilt-framed, my college degree tucked in the corner where guests wouldn't notice. I learned early to stay quiet, stay small, stay grateful. After all, they'd given me a home when I had nothing. The Easter gathering was at their house. A sprawling colonial in the suburbs that Dad had bought 20 years ago when his financial planning business was booming. These days the business was struggling. I'd heard whispers about clients leaving, about Dad's outdated investment strategies, about the mortgage refinance they'd had to do last year, but the house still projected success. I arrived at noon with a homemade carrot cake, the recipe Grandma Thornton had taught me before she died. The woman who'd adopted me had been dead for 2 years. But she was the only member of this family who'd ever treated me like I belonged. Sarah. Jennifer air-kissed near my cheek, her Chanel perfume overwhelming. You made it. We were just talking about you. That was never a good sign. Inside, the dining room table was set for 12. Mom and Dad at the heads, Michael and his wife Brittany with their 2 kids on one side, Jennifer and her husband Craig on the other, and me squeezed in at the corner near the kitchen door. My usual spot. Mom came out of the kitchen wearing an apron over her designer dress, carrying a platter of glazed ham. At 63, Patricia Thornton was still beautiful, with silver blonde hair and the kind of bone structure that aged gracefully. She'd always been conscious of appearances, her house, her clothes, her children's achievements. I'd never quite fit the image. Sarah, you can put that cake in the kitchen, she said without looking at me. We already have dessert. I set the cake on the counter next to 3 store-bought pies and returned to my seat. Dad said grace. A long, rambling prayer thanking God for family, for blessings, for biological bonds that tied them together. I noticed he didn't mention adoption or chosen family or any of the platitudes people usually offered about love transcending blood. Dinner conversation flowed around me. Michael talked about his architecture firm's new contracts. Jennifer bragged about Craig's promotion to senior vice president. Brittany showed off photos of their kids' private school activities. I ate my ham and watched, offering small smiles when required, staying invisible. Then Dad cleared his throat. I want to talk to everyone about something important, he said, setting down his fork. It's about Mom's mother, about Grandma Thornton's estate. The table went quiet. Even the kids stopped fidgeting. As you know, Grandma passed 2 years ago. Her estate has been in probate, being managed by her trust attorney. It's finally being settled. Dad paused, his face serious. The total value is approximately $4.7 million. Michael whistled. I had no idea Grandma had that much. Her husband invested wisely, Dad said. Unlike some of us. He laughed, but it sounded hollow. Anyway, the trust is structured specifically. Distributions to her children, that's me and your Uncle Richard, and then to her biological grandchildren. My stomach tightened. Mom took over, her voice crisp. The trust document is very clear. Biological descendants only. It was important to Grandma that family wealth stay in the bloodline. Jennifer's eyes flickered to me, then away. So Michael and Jennifer will each receive approximately $400,000 as grandchildren, Mom continued. Your father and Uncle Richard will each receive $1.8 million, which we'll use to secure our retirement and help with the kids' futures. What about the other $300,000? Michael asked. Trust administration fees, taxes, legal costs, Dad said. These things are expensive. I sat very still, my hands in my lap, my face carefully neutral. I'd learned this skill young, how to absorb pain without showing it, how to hear that you don't belong without crying, how to smile and nod while your heart breaks. I think we should be clear about this, Mom said, looking directly at me for the first time all day. Sarah, this isn't personal. It's legal. Grandma's trust specifically states biological descendants. You were adopted, so legally you're not eligible. We wanted to tell you so there wouldn't be any confusion, Dad added. Or false hope. Michael shifted uncomfortably. I mean, it's not like we decided this. No, it's fine, I said quietly. I understand. Do you? Mom's voice had an edge. Because I want to be very clear. Only biological children get inheritance from the Thornton family trust. Not adopted ones. That's how Grandma wanted it, and that's how it is. Jennifer nodded. It's nothing against you, Sarah. It's just, blood is blood. Craig, who'd always been nice to me in that distant, polite way, looked down at his plate. I said I understand, I repeated, keeping my voice level. Mom seemed disappointed that I wasn't arguing, wasn't giving her an excuse to elaborate on why I didn't deserve to be included. She'd always been like that, looking for opportunities to remind me of my place. Good, she said finally. Then we're all clear. Michael, Jennifer, you'll receive your distributions within 60 days. Your father and I will get ours on the same timeline. What are you going to do with the money? Brittany asked excitedly. Well, Dad said, warming to the topic, first we're paying off the house. Then there's the country club membership we've been wanting to reinstate. Maybe a new car for your mother. And we want to set up education trusts for the grandkids. The conversation shifted to spending plans. Michael wanted to renovate his kitchen. Jennifer was eyeing a vacation property in the Carolinas. Mom started talking about a Mediterranean cruise she'd been researching. I excused myself to the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror, breathing slowly. This shouldn't hurt anymore. I'd known for years that I wasn't really part of this family. Grandma Thornton had been the exception. She'd loved me genuinely, taught me to bake, listened to my stories, told me I was special. But she'd been one person against a family that had never accepted me. Still, hearing it stated so baldly, only biological children get inheritance, not adopted ones, felt like a door slamming shut. Final confirmation of what I'd always suspected. I would never belong. When I returned to the table, Mom's phone was ringing. She glanced at the screen and frowned. It's the trust attorney, she said. I should take this. She stepped into the kitchen and we could all hear her side of the conversation. Yes, this is Patricia Thornton. Yes, I submitted the withdrawal request. What do you mean denied? The table went silent. Everyone was listening now. But I'm a primary beneficiary. The mortgage payment is due. I don't understand who has that authority. Her voice was rising, taking on a sharp edge I recognized. The tone she used when things weren't going her way. A trustee? What trustee? The trust attorney manages everything. There's a family trustee with approval authority. Dad stood up, moving toward the kitchen. Who is it? Who's the trustee? Mom demanded into the phone. There was a long pause. I could see her face through the doorway, watching it go from red to white in seconds. That's impossible, she whispered. She's not even. She can't be. Dad took the phone from her. Oh, this is Robert Thornton. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Who has trustee authority? His eyes found mine across the room. Locked on. Why? Sarah, he said. Sarah Wheeler is the trustee? Every head at the table turned to me. I took a sip of water, my hand completely steady, and waited. Dad was speaking rapidly into the phone now. There must be some mistake. She was adopted, she's not a blood relative. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Since when? 2 years ago? Before Grandma died. He pulled the phone away from his ear, staring at it like it had betrayed him, then slowly returned to the table and sat down heavily. The trust attorney says, he began, his voice hollow, that Sarah was appointed family trustee by Grandma Thornton 6 months before she died. She has final approval authority on all distributions, withdrawal requests, and trust decisions. The silence was absolute. Michael broke it. What the hell does that mean? It means, I said quietly, that Grandma restructured her trust before she died. She appointed me as the family trustee with full discretionary authority over distributions. Mom's voice was shrill. That's impossible. You're adopted. You're not even blood. I finished. No, I'm not. Which is exactly why Grandma chose me. This is insane, Jennifer said. Why would she do that? I'd known this moment would come eventually. Grandma had warned me when she'd explained her plan, sitting in her hospice bed 2 years ago, her hand gripping mine with surprising strength. They've never treated you right, sweetheart, she'd said. I've watched them dismiss you, exclude you, make you feel less than. Breaks my heart. So I'm giving you something they can't take away. Power. Complete control over the family trust. They'll have to come to you, respect you, treat you with the dignity you deserve. Or they'll get nothing. I tried to refuse. Told her I didn't want to be the cause of family drama, that I could handle being excluded. She'd squeezed my hand harder. This isn't about revenge, Sarah. It's about teaching them that love and family aren't about biology. You've shown me more devotion, more care, more genuine affection in the 10 years I've known you than my own children and grandchildren combined. You deserve to be protected. And they deserve to learn what real family means. Now, sitting at the Easter table with everyone staring at me, I pulled out my own phone and opened the document Grandma's attorney had sent me 2 years ago. Grandma amended her trust on November 3rd, 18 months before she died, I said. She was completely lucid. There are 3 medical assessments confirming her mental competency. The amendment appointed me as family trustee with full discretionary authority over all distributions. Let me see that, Dad demanded. I handed him my phone. He read, his face growing darker with each line. Then he passed it to Mom, who read with trembling hands. This gives you complete control, Mom whispered. Over all $4.7 million. Yes. You could deny our distributions entirely. I could. Michael leaned forward. Why would Grandma do this? What did you say to her? Did you manipulate her somehow? I looked at my adoptive brother, the golden child who'd never worked particularly hard at anything because success had always been handed to him, who'd borrowed money from Grandma for his business and never paid it back, who visited her maybe twice a year and spent the whole time talking about himself. I didn't say anything, I replied calmly. I just showed up. Every Sunday for the last 5 years of her life. I brought groceries. Helped her manage her medications. Drove her to doctor's appointments. Sat with her watching her favorite shows. Listened to her stories. Learned her recipes. Loved her. We visited her, Jennifer protested. You visited her on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Sometimes on her birthday if it was convenient. Michael, you missed 3 consecutive Christmases because skiing in Aspen was more important. That's not fair. Jennifer, you promised to help her move to assisted living and then delegated everything to me because you were too busy with Craig's work events. Mom, you put her in a nursing home and visited maybe once a month, usually to complain about the cost. Mom's face was red. How dare you? I dare because it's true, I said, my voice still quiet but firm. And Grandma noticed. She noticed who cared about her and who cared about her money. So she made a decision. Dad was rereading the document. This is dated 2 years ago. You've known about this the entire time. You let us talk about the inheritance, make plans, never said a word. You never asked. You just assumed, like you always assume, that I don't matter, that I'm not really part of this family, that decisions get made without including me. So what? Michael said, his voice hard. You're going to deny us our inheritance? Grandma's biological grandchildren? To prove some petty point. I met his eyes. Actually, Michael, I was planning to approve your distributions. All of them. Despite everything, I'm not interested in punishing anyone. The tension in the room eased slightly. But that was before today, I continued. Before Mom made it crystal clear that only biological children get inheritance, not adopted ones. Before everyone at this table agreed that blood is what matters, not love or commitment or years of showing up. Mom's phone rang again. She answered, her voice tight. Yes. No, I'm not calm. What do you mean pending trustee approval? How long does that take? She's sitting right here. Yes, I understand. She hung up and looked at Dad. The mortgage payment. It's due in 3 days. If we don't pay, they start foreclosure proceedings. Use savings, Dad said. We don't have enough. We were counting on the trust distribution to cover it. The attorney says the trustee has to approve any emergency withdrawals. All eyes turned to me again. Sarah, Dad said, his tone shifting to something that might have been conciliatory if it wasn't so obviously forced. I think we've all gotten a bit emotional here. Family disagreements happen. But surely you understand we need that distribution. Our home is at stake. I understand that's a problem, I said. So you'll approve the withdrawal? I'm considering it. Mom's voice was desperate now. Sarah, please. We raised you. Gave you a home when you had nothing. Doesn't that count for something? I looked at her. This woman who'd given me a roof over my head but never a place in her heart, who'd fed me but never nourished me, who'd tolerated my presence but never celebrated my existence. It counts for a lot, I said honestly. You gave me stability when I needed it. I'm grateful for that. But you also spent 21 years making sure I knew I was temporary, peripheral, not really yours. You introduced me as the adopted one well into my 20s. You excluded me from family decisions, family photos, family pride. You made sure I understood that blood mattered more than anything I could ever do or be. We never said that, Jennifer protested weakly. You said it today. Explicitly. Only biological children get inheritance, not adopted ones. Those were your exact words, Mom. So here's my question. Why should I help you now? By your own definition, I'm not real family. So this isn't really my problem, is it? The color drained from Dad's face. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You've spent decades telling me, sometimes with words, usually with actions, that I don't really belong. That I should be grateful for scraps. That I'll never be as important as the biological children. So why would I prioritize your needs now? Michael stood up. This is blackmail. No, I said calmly. Blackmail would be demanding something in exchange for approval. I'm not demanding anything. I'm simply reflecting on whether I want to help people who've made it clear I'm not really family. Craig spoke up for the first time. Maybe we should all take a breath here. Stay out of this, Jennifer snapped at her husband. Mom was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Sarah, I'm sorry if we made you feel unwelcome. But this is our house. Our retirement. You can't just. I can actually, I said. That's what trustee authority means. Complete discretionary control. I can approve or deny any request for any reason or no reason. That's what Grandma set up. She was trying to protect you, Dad said suddenly, his voice hollow. From us. Everyone looked at him. Don't you see, he continued. Mother knew how we treated Sarah. She was protecting her. Making sure we couldn't cut her out, couldn't ignore her, couldn't treat her as less than. She gave Sarah the power because she knew we'd never give her respect any other way. Mom's sobs grew louder. I waited, letting the truth settle over the room like snow. Finally I spoke. Grandma told me something before she died. She said family isn't about biology. It's about showing up. Being present. Caring when it's inconvenient. Loving someone not because you have to, but because you choose to. She said I'd shown her more real family love than anyone else in her final years. So what do you want? Michael asked bitterly. An apology? Groveling. I don't want anything, I said. That's the point. I don't need your money, your approval, or your acceptance anymore. Grandma left me something more valuable than inheritance. She left me the truth. That I was always enough, always worthy, always deserving of love. You couldn't see it, but she could. Jennifer was crying too now. This isn't fair. No, I agreed. It's not. It wasn't fair when you all went to Jennifer's beach house last summer and didn't invite me. It wasn't fair when Michael borrowed my car and returned it with an empty tank and a dent he never mentioned. It wasn't fair when Mom and Dad paid for your weddings, your down payments, your children's private schools while I worked 3 jobs to pay off student loans. Life isn't fair. But Grandma tried to balance the scales a little. Dad's phone buzzed. He looked at it and closed his eyes. The bank. Reminder about the mortgage payment. Mom grabbed my hand across the table, her grip desperate. Please, Sarah. I'm begging you. We'll lose everything. I looked down at her hand. The hand that had never held mine in comfort, never patted my shoulder in pride, never touched me with genuine affection. But it was trembling now, and she was my mother in the only way that legally mattered, and I wasn't cruel. I'll approve an emergency withdrawal, I said. Enough to cover your mortgage payment and 3 months of expenses. Relief flooded her face. But, I continued, there are conditions. The relief turned to wariness. First, the full distribution you were expecting, the $1.8 million, will be restructured. You'll receive $150,000 annually for 10 years instead of a lump sum. That's still $1.5 million total, minus administrative fees. The reduced amount is a consequence of today's declaration about adopted children not deserving inheritance. Dad started to protest, but I held up my hand. Second, Michael and Jennifer's distributions will also be restructured. $40,000 annually for 10 years each. That's $400,000 total, exactly what you were originally promised. But spread out to ensure you don't blow through it in 2 years. You can't do that, Michael said. I absolutely can. It's called trustee discretion. Grandma specifically gave me this authority because she worried about exactly this kind of financial irresponsibility. What about the rest of the money? Jennifer asked. The rest, approximately $2 million after all distributions are made, will fund a charitable trust in Grandma's name, supporting adopted children, foster care organizations, and families who understand that love isn't about biology. Mom's mouth fell open. You're giving away $2 million? I'm honoring Grandma's values, I corrected. She believed family was about choice and love. This ensures her money supports that belief. This is insane, Michael said. We should fight this. Get lawyers. Feel free, I said calmly. The trust document is ironclad. Grandma had 3 different law firms review it. And contestation comes with consequences. The trust specifically states that any beneficiary who challenges trustee authority forfeits their entire distribution, which then goes to charity. The fight drained out of Michael's face. I stood up, placing my napkin on the table. The withdrawal for your mortgage will be processed tomorrow. You'll have the funds in 3 business days. The first annual distributions will begin in 60 days as originally planned. Where are you going? Mom asked. Home. I've spent enough Easters being reminded I don't belong. I think I'll start my own traditions now. As I headed for the door, Jennifer called out. Sarah, wait. I turned. She was standing now, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. For today. For a lot of things. You didn't deserve how we treated you. I studied her. My adoptive sister who'd never stood up for me, never defended me, never chosen me over family politics. But she was crying real tears now, and there was something genuine in her face. Thank you for saying that, I said. Is there any way to fix this? To make things right? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. But it would require actually treating me like family. Not because you have to, not because I control the money, but because you want to. Because you've realized that the person who showed up every Sunday for 5 years to care for Grandma maybe deserved a seat at the table all along. I left before anyone could respond, walking out into the bright spring afternoon. My phone buzzed immediately, a text from Mom. Please come back. We need to talk about this. Then Dad, you're being unreasonable. Family takes care of family. Then Michael, this is bullshit and you know it. I silenced my phone and got in my car. A modest Honda Civic that I'd saved for years to buy, not a BMW or Mercedes like my siblings drove. As I pulled away from the house, I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Ms. Wheeler? This is Robert Martinez from Thornton and Associates, your grandmother's trust attorney. Yes, hello. I wanted to personally thank you for handling today's situation with such grace. Your grandmother would be very proud. My eyes stung. Thank you. I also wanted to inform you that the trust contains one additional provision you may not be aware of. Your grandmother left a sealed letter, to be delivered to you personally 1 year after her death. Today marks 2 years, and in reviewing the file I realized it was never sent. Would you like me to mail it, or would you prefer to pick it up? I'll pick it up. Tomorrow. Perfect. I'll have it ready. That night, I sat in my small apartment. The 1 bedroom I could actually afford, not the house I might have been able to buy with help from the family that never offered, and thought about Grandma. About Sunday afternoons in her sunny kitchen, learning to make her famous apple pie. About sitting beside her hospital bed reading her favorite books. About the way she'd always introduced me. This is my granddaughter Sarah. Isn't she wonderful? No qualifiers. No adopted, or not biological, or not really ours. Just granddaughter. My phone had 17 missed calls and 34 texts by the time I finally looked. Most were angry. Some were pleading. A few were from extended family members who'd apparently heard the news and had opinions about my cruelty and betrayal. Only one made me pause. From Craig, Jennifer's husband. For what it's worth, I've always thought they treated you terribly. You deserved better. Still do. I hope this changes things for you. I typed back, thank you. That means a lot. The next morning I drove to the trust attorney's office. Robert Martinez was exactly as I remembered from Grandma's funeral. Kind eyes, gentle manner, the sort of person you'd trust with your deepest secrets. He handed me a cream-colored envelope, sealed with wax, my name written in Grandma's spidery handwriting. She was very specific that you should read this alone, he said. Take your time. I'll be in my office if you need anything. I sat in the quiet conference room and broke the seal. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, I've been gone at least a year, and you've likely encountered the reality of the trust structure I created. I hope you understand why I did what I did. I watched my family treat you like a second-class member for years, and it broke my heart every time. You deserved so much better than Patricia's cold tolerance, Robert's indifference, and your siblings' casual cruelty. But you handled it with such grace, such strength, such quiet dignity. That's why I chose you. Not to punish them, though perhaps they deserve it, but to protect you. To ensure they could never dismiss you, never ignore you, never treat you as less than ever again. With control of the trust, you have power they must respect even if they don't want to. But more than that, I wanted you to know your worth. You are the granddaughter of my heart, Sarah. Biology didn't make you mine. Love did. Your faithfulness, your kindness, your genuine care when I needed it most. You showed me what real family means. Use this power wisely. Be firm but fair. Don't let them bully you, but don't become cruel either. You're better than that. You've always been better than that. And remember, you were always enough. Always worthy. Always deeply, completely loved. Your grandma. I cried then, deep, wrenching sobs that had been building for 21 years. Cried for the little girl who'd lost her parents and never quite found a family to replace them. Cried for the teenager who'd learned to make herself small and quiet. Cried for the young woman who'd convinced herself that being tolerated was enough. But I also cried with relief. Because someone had seen me. Someone had loved me. Someone had fought for me in the only way she knew how. When I finally composed myself, I found Robert in his office. She was an incredible woman, I said. She was, he agreed. And she was very proud of you. She talked about you constantly in our meetings. Your achievements, your character, your resilience. I'm going to honor her wishes, I said. The structured distributions, the charitable trust, all of it. I know you will. That's why she chose you. Over the next week, my phone didn't stop. The family had apparently hired their own attorney to review the trust, only to be told exactly what I'd said. It was ironclad, I had complete authority, and challenging it would result in forfeiture. Dad called, his voice weary. We received the emergency funds. Thank you. You're welcome. The attorney says we can't fight this. No, you can't. There was a long pause. Your grandmother was very clever. She was protecting me from you, I said. All of you. Because she knew you'd never change unless you had to. Will you ever forgive us? The question surprised me. I don't know, Dad. Maybe. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust, and trust has to be earned. What would that look like? Earning your trust. Treating me like family, I said. Not because I control the money, but because you actually want to. Inviting me to things. Including me in decisions. Introducing me without qualifiers. Caring about my life the way you care about Michael's and Jennifer's. That seems reasonable. It should have been the baseline all along, I said and hung up. 3 weeks later, Jennifer called. We're having a barbecue this weekend. Small thing, just family. Would you want to come? Why? I asked. Because you're my sister. And I want you there. Not because you need something from me. No. Just because. I went. It was awkward at first. Everyone dancing around the obvious tension, unsure how to act now that the power dynamics had shifted. But Craig made an effort to include me in conversation. Jennifer asked genuine questions about my work with foster families. Even Michael, though stiff, managed a few civil exchanges. Mom watched from the kitchen window, her face unreadable. As I was leaving, she walked me to my car. I need to say something, she began. I waited. I was wrong. About adoption, about blood, about what makes family. You were always my daughter. I should have treated you like it. Why didn't you? She looked away. I was afraid. Afraid you'd never really be mine, that you'd always love your biological parents more, that I couldn't compete with a memory. So I kept distance. Protected myself. And in doing so, I lost something precious. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. "I can't promise to forget everything," I said. "But I'm willing to try moving forward. If you really mean it." "I do," she said. "I really do." It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Trust rebuilt slowly, if at all. But tentatively, carefully, something began to shift. Invitations came more regularly. Conversations went deeper. The family photos in the hallway got rearranged. My college graduation moved to a more prominent spot, right next to Michael's and Jennifer's. The first annual distributions went out as promised. Michael grumbled but accepted his restructured amount. Jennifer used hers to pay down debt, which I privately thought Grandma would have approved of. Mom and Dad covered their mortgage and started actually budgeting for the first time in years. And I set up the charitable trust, the Evelyn Thornton Foundation for Adoptive Families, with the mission of supporting children who needed to know they were chosen, wanted, loved. On what would have been Grandma's 88th birthday, I visited her grave with fresh flowers and her favorite cookies, which I'd learned to make perfectly. "I hope I'm doing this right," I whispered to the headstone. "I'm trying to be fair. Trying to honor what you wanted." The wind rustled through the trees and I imagined I could hear her voice. "You're doing beautifully, sweetheart. You always were my favorite." I smiled through my tears. "I know, Grandma. I know." In the end, she'd given me something more valuable than money. She'd given me proof that I mattered, that I was worthy, that I was loved. She'd given me power, yes, but more importantly, she'd given me validation. And she taught my family a lesson they'd needed for 21 years. That real family isn't about blood. It's about showing up, day after day, choosing love over convenience, choosing connection over biology. It was a lesson they were finally, slowly beginning to learn. And it was a lesson I'd carry with me forever.